Ferris, this is cooking for bachelors, and I have one inside. So I'm going to make him a special breakfast because we all know a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. We already know I did okay in there. Let's see if I could do okay out here. I'm going to make my favorite breakfast to make is shakshuka. Shakshuka is the Middle Eastern dish, mostly from Morocco. It's like huevos rancheros. So we're going to start with olive oil and garlic, like everything, like almost everything I cook does. Okay, I'm just going to cover that, and while that's heating up, I'll cut up some other ingredients. I'm going to use some onions and some jalapenos. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a tomato base and then cook our eggs right in it. It's going to be a little hot, as it already has been. And let's see if we could surprise my guest. I love jalapenos. I like them when it's tomato sauce. Not too hot, don't want to burn his tongue. Get the seeds out. Not only are they hot, they're disturbing to eat, and very thin slices. We're going to add this to our oil. Not quite hot enough, but as the oil starts cooking, everything will start cooking. So it's really okay if the oil isn't all the way heated through. I'm going to leave it partially open so that it doesn't get soggy. I think I might add the rest of the pepper. So this dish has its origins in many countries, but I was introduced to it in Israel. And as you know, huevos rancheros is a Tex-Mex dish as well. So there's many variations of a theme here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it with a cinnamon toast, which is going to counteract the heat with something sweet. Most people serve it with a pita or other sort of bread. Okay, our oil's beginning to heat. That's going to be nice. Now we're going to take some canned tomatoes, and I'm going to squish them in my hands to break them apart. These are Italian brand canned tomatoes, which I prefer to American brand canned tomatoes. The difference is that they don't have calcium chloride, meaning like an extra salt added to it. So they're much more mushy, pliable, easy to squish apart with your hands. If you sometimes have the ones with calcium chloride, they're too stiff and hard, and you actually have to chop them, and you can't just mush them apart. So this is a fun process. Very tactile. And you can cut it. You can put it on a plate and cut it with a knife, but you can also just squeeze it like this. I've done this before in the Pomodoro video. And this is the way you would start any tomato sauce. I mean, that has the spices in it. It has the jalapeno, so you might not use it for Italian food. I'm going to also use a little tomato paste, so I'm going to open that can and get it ready. While the oil is heating and our vegetables are cooking down, I'm going to move over and make the toast. What I'm going to do is make a cinnamon toast. And I'm just going to mix cinnamon and sugar. And it's really good to just use plain white sugar for this. I mean, you might, tend to use, I want to use some other sugar, but this is going to go on toast. So you don't want big crunchy, like sugar in the raw or anything else like that. So it's about 1 part cinnamon to 2 parts sugar, and just mix it up. And we're going to butter the bread so that the cinnamon sugar has something to stick to. This bread is sitting out for a few minutes. We have some nice challah toast, which is a nice sweet bread, which is going to be a really nice contrast to the spiciness. So I'm definitely hitting this on all ends. A little sweet, a little spice, a little sugar, a little nice. Yeah, be generous with the butter. Okay, and we're just going to sprinkle this on there and toast it. You want to almost really bake it more than toast it because you don't want the sugar to burn from the toaster while the butter is melting. Okay, so we're just going to pop that in the toaster. Okay, still a few more minutes before we add our tomatoes. So I'm going to start on a little salad. And I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up a mango. Mango is a really interesting fruit because it has this interesting peel, which you can actually peel and eat. A lot of people like to just take their teeth. Oh, this is soft. Very good. Oh, very sweet. This is perfectly ripe. Not too juicy where it's dripping down your arms, but nice and easy to peel. And it has a big flat pit inside. And you don't want to get too close to the pit because it's a very fibrous fruit. This is great. This is a great, you can get this almost all year because they fly it in from different parts. Not being locavore, but definitely if you have a yen for mango. Again, you don't want to get too close to the pit. So that's something you can always eat yourself. But if you're serving, you want to just cut closer to the surface. And I'm just going to cut it up in small pieces so it's easy to eat. Okay, I think we can add the tomatoes now. So it's just tomatoes and whatever juice was in them. Should have a nice sizzle. Very nice. Okay, I'm going to cook that just a few minutes before I add the paste. In the meantime, let me put my mango in a bowl. Okay. You know, I usually keep parsley in the refrigerator in a glass or a bowl like this so that it really stays fresh that way. Otherwise, it will dry out. If you don't have room in your refrigerator, I'm sure you do. You're a bachelor. You hardly have anything in there anyway. So you have enough to have parsley. Parsley is such a great food. It's really high in vitamin C, and it's good to eat just as is. That's the food I always eat when I'm in the supermarket. I always grab the parsley. It's nice and fresh. It's actually a breath freshener. I like it as an ingredient in salads, not just a garnish. Put some of that in there. Let that cook down a little before we add paste. And we'll put a little basil in also. Basil is a very fragile herb, so it's not easy to keep for a long time unless you have a plant. That's why people have basil plants, and that's the freshest way to get it. A lot of times it wilts very quickly. You want to keep basil dry. It's interesting, some herbs you want to keep dry, some you want to wrap with a wet paper towel and keep in plastic. There's a whole list. Maybe I'll put one as a download. Have you seen my downloads, by the way? Shopping lists, things to keep in your house all the time, the utensils you really need. Those are all downloads on the website, so please go and download those. So a lot of people say they're confused when they go shopping. They don't know what they should have. This is looking delicious. I love when the olive oil is separated from the tomato sauce. It just makes it another ingredient, another delicious flavor. Put some salt and pepper. Nice. Nice fresh ground pepper. Oh, this is smelling lovely. I think I'm only going to put 2 teaspoons. Heaping. And then blend that. You could use a smaller pan. I like to use this pan because I like the way it cooks and I like the way it heats through. You can do this in a 7-inch pan or even in a small saucepan. Okay, I'm just going to cover that for a few minutes. We're going to take our mango and I'm going to add a dollop of yogurt. This is a vanilla yogurt with that on top, no skimping here. Okay, but I'm going to try to avoid that anyway. And this is going to be like a little dessert, not that fancy, very simple. It's just all in the presentation. You know, you don't always have to bake something. Okay, you could just add a little mint. Just break it up. When you break up the leaves, you'll release the aroma and the scent. Oh, everything tastes good with mint. Okay, and then a little honey for my honey. And I'm just going to drizzle it over. Whee! Okay, let me get that toast out of the toaster. Ooh, that looks beautiful. Actually, that almost looks like cake, doesn't it? So we have our salad, we have our toast, and this is just perfect. Oh, I could smell jalapenos. I could smell the tomato. Everything's going just nicely. Oh, this is wonderful. Wonderfully romantic. I hope he likes it. Okay, now we're going to flatten it out. What we're going to do is we're going to cook some eggs in it. You just break it and carefully put it in. And this is going to actually cook right in the sauce. I'll make some for me too. And with a pot like this, you can make 4 eggs. If you have a smaller pot, it might be a little harder, it might be crowded. You don't want to crowd your pot with the eggs, otherwise it's going to be an egg layer. Okay. Now I'm going to cover it so that the egg cooks on top as well. We're just going to wait a few minutes for that to cook, and we'll be ready to serve. Okay, so how do you know it's ready? You just tap the egg a little and see that it's not too wobbly. Then you know it's cooked through. And you just scoop it up, the sauce and the egg together. You can put a little extra sauce on if you want. I think he's going to like it. Take the cinnamon toast and just cut it in slices so it's easy to eat. Give him something to drink too, right? Oh, I think I have some Prosecco left over from last night. Hope it's still bubbly. Sounds like it. Well, looks like somebody's going to get lucky again.